Good morning and welcome to Travels with Dottie, and I have a special video today that is titled Secrets to Safe and Fun Desert Camping. I've been camping by myself out here in the desert outside Quartzsite, Arizona for several years, and I've learned a lot that have helped me to have a real peace of mind about being out here and being safe so I can have fun. And I have them listed here. So number one, be near a friend or make friends with someone near you. You want to have people familiar with who you are, people maybe you could reach out to in an urgent situation. The best thing is to camp in a little group with friends. But if you're brand new and you're out here and you're camping by yourself, you're going to be, fairly near, hopefully not too near people you don't know. But there's nothing wrong with when you see someone camped within, say, 100 yards of you or so, and they're outside, there's nothing stopping you from walking up and saying, "Hi, I'm your neighbor," and walking up and introducing yourself and making friends. And that could be a really good thing for safety. For example, you want to be able to tell someone, "Hey, I'm going into town and no one should be coming near my rig other than me. I'm not expecting anybody else." So hopefully if they see someone else nosing around your rig while you're going into town, then they'll say, "Hey, can I help you?" And that'll chase the potential for someone trying to steal your stuff away. Now, granted, that doesn't happen a lot, but it does happen. On a more serious note, know your GPS coordinates. If you don't know how to do that, Google it. It'll tell you exactly how to do that. You want to save those coordinates on your phone and have it ready to be able to send to 911 in the case of an emergency. Because think about this. If you need an ambulance or you need the police, it doesn't do any good to say, "I'm in this part of the desert. I'm in La Posa South long-term visitor area." It's enormous. They need more information than that to get to you, but the exact GPS coordinates, they're used to that. They will get to you quickly. Same vein with your pets. If you have pets, when you get there, find out where the closest emergency veterinarian is. Call them, make sure the listing on Google you get is still active, and find out what their hours are, what the procedure is, how to get there, etc. So if you have an emergency with your pet at 2:00 in the morning, you're not panicking and fumbling around and trying to figure out who can help you. You already know in advance. For you, know where the closest hospital is and the closest urgent care. Urgent cares especially, call, find out, make sure the listing is current, the hours, where they are, how to get there. Because when you need an emergency room or an urgent care, the last thing you want to be doing is fumbling around trying to figure out where to go to get help. So when you do leave, if like me, I leave my trailer here when I go into town, and I have some valuable things out here. I have my e-bike and my very nice new generator, two very valuable things that I would hate to lose. Well, I have heavy cable locks locking those things to my rig. Now, you could say, yeah, someone could cut those, but most crooks are looking for easy grab and run things, not things where they have to go hack things, clip and try to get through locks. They're looking for easy marks. So if you're not an easy mark, they're going to go past you and they're going to keep looking for that easy mark. It's not a guarantee, but it increases your chances of your stuff being safe. And again, remember, tell your neighbors when you're leaving, when you're going to town, and make sure they know no one but you has any business near your rig. Now, if there's someone else that you're expecting near your rig, tell them that. Leaving your pets inside your rig. Now, we all do it from time to time, and you want to make sure you're not going to leave them in the rig when the temperature gets too high. Keep in mind, if you're new at this, in an RV, the temperature outside can be 73 degrees and it can get up into the 90s inside if it's not properly ventilated. It'll heat up really fast and it could be devastating for your pets. So make sure it's well ventilated. What I do, if you can afford it, is I have a constant internet connection here in the rig, and I have a little blink, they call them blink camera, that I can see what's going on in the rig, and it also tells me the temperature, and it'll send me an alert if the temperature gets beyond a certain range. So I know that, hey, there's a problem, and I'm going to get home right away and make sure my pet doesn't get too warm. So be aware of that. High winds. High winds can be a real problem in the desert. But when you see a forecast for winds, you'll see generally, like if you use weather.com by hour, it's going to show a wind speed, and that's sustained winds. And if I think it's only in the premium, if you click on that hour, it'll show you the estimated gust speed. And I assume that any sustained wind speed can easily double with a gust. So just be aware of that. So, a 35 mile an hour sustained wind can get a 70 mile per hour gust. It's unlikely, but it can happen. Now, the strongest wind that I've ever experienced out here in Quartzsite is 70 miles per hour. And I'm not going to tell you it wasn't a little unnerving, but the trailer didn't come off its wheels or anything, and it was hitting broadside. You need usually like triple digit winds under the right condition to blow over a trailer. In all my years out here, I've never heard about that happening. Now, certainly that happens in tornadoes, and sometimes in hurricanes, but more often in tornadoes. And if there are no tornadoes out here, but if you're in an area that has tornadoes, you got no business being in your RV. You need to get that RV out of there, or if you can't do that, you need to be out of that RV. Things that will happen with high winds, that it won't knock your trailer over, but it'll send things that aren't heavy enough off into the desert. Ask me how I know. It's happened. I've lost and recovered many things, many hundreds of yards away, because they've taken flight. So I've learned when high winds are coming, I fold up my chairs, I put everything flat, I fold up my tables, put them flat. I have expensive solar panels out on the ground there, but I use big rebar stakes, and then I zip tie the frame of the solar panel to those, and they don't go anywhere. They don't move at all. So that's high winds. This next one, and these are in no particular order, just as they occurred to me as I'm doing my list. And I don't mean to scare anyone by this. This is just, there's probably a higher likelihood of getting struck by lightning than this happening. But if you have someone, especially at night, coming up to your trailer and trying to get you to come outside and you don't know who they are, don't do it. Don't go outside. Even during the day, if you have a funny feeling, just tell them, please leave me alone, go away, and say it through the locked door. And if they won't go away, call 911, text your GPS to 911 and say, someone is trying to get into my trailer. I sent you the coordinates. I need help right now. They're still there. Don't be talked into going outside. If someone's saying, I need your help, I need help, say, I'll call 911 for you. Tell me what the problem is. And if they won't do that, I said, well, I'm calling 911 and I'm saying someone's asking for help. That's what I'm doing now. And if they're going to do you dirt, that'll chase them away. They'll leave. But no matter what they say, if you have a bad feeling about it, do not go outside for a stranger, especially at night. Don't let that scare you, please. I've never heard about anyone getting attacked here. There was a story, I think last year, about a woman that had a rock. She was sleeping in her car and she had a rock thrown through one of her windows and it broke her window. And that was the worst thing I've ever heard. They didn't stick around. They didn't touch her, other than she got glass shards on her legs and stuff and had some cuts. But that is the worst thing I've ever heard out here in the Quartzsite area. When you're picking a place to park, it may be tempting to say, hey, there's some vegetation and some trees over there. I'll go park under that tree. Don't do it. That's where the critters live, right? You don't want mice and little critters coming into your rig. So give some distance between you and the little bit of vegetation that you see. Now, there are people that do park close to vegetation and they swear by it and they're okay. I'm suggesting that that's a bad idea. Now, definitely in what comes with when you see vegetation, that's going to mean you're near what is called a wash. And that's essentially a dry creek bed that only gets filled with water during monsoon season or a one-off heavy rain. There may be a way into a wash and it looks nice and flat and beautiful. Don't ever camp in a wash. It could fill without warning during any time of year. There could be a flash flood in there. Even if it's not raining here, it can happen in the mountains. The water can come down. No one ever parks in a wash. Don't do it. Don't ever do it. Also, when you're camping out here and we're experiencing heavy rains, it didn't happen this season, but it certainly happened last season. Stay put. Don't get in your drive around vehicle and head into town, because unless you're parked off the main road in like one of these areas, if there are any washes that you normally drive through, even the shallow ones that you hardly notice, those could fill with water very quickly. And once the water goes down, they can be muddy and you can get stuck. It's like, stay put when it rains until the rain stops and it dries up, and it dries up very, very quickly. So I would advise you, if you know a big rain is coming, get your supplies in town first. And know that I'm not going to go anywhere during the day when it's raining, and I'm going to wait half a day, 3/4 of the next day for things to dry out. Fire is always a fear. When we're out here, we have lots of opportunity for fires in RVs. We have, fear that some of us, like me, have complex solar and electrical systems. We have flammable gases like propane. There's all kinds of things that can happen bad with fire. So I suggest that you have 2 good fire extinguishers. Now, I'm not talking about sometimes I think every RV comes with a fire extinguisher. The one I came with is about this big around. It's white. It's almost all plastic. It's a piece of junk. Buy a real one. Invest in a real one. In fact, invest in 2 real ones. Why 2? Because you want them on maybe opposite ends of your RV. Because you don't want to have to go past a fire to get to a fire extinguisher, and know where they are, have them accessible. And also, I suggest a fire blanket. And you can just fire blanket on Amazon. They're inexpensive. I have one that's attached to one of my cabinet doors by my microwave and stove. It's just hanging right there. And a fire blanket, if there's a fire on the stove or something, you just pull the blanket out, throw it over the fire, done. Fire's out. Very inexpensive. Also, this gets a little bit more expensive, but to prevent propane fires, generally a propane fire will happen when there's some kind of disruption in the flow of propane and it catches on fire, and the high pressure propane is feeding a fire. And when that happens, your RV's gone. Right. There is a product called GasStop that I use on, and this is really only for people I think that have not built-in propane tanks, but like cylinder propane tanks. Like I have, a lot of people have a couple of 30-pounders on the front of their trailer. I have 20-pounders. Well, there's a product called GasStop. It's a valve that you put on there that will automatically detect when there's a high flow of propane, and it'll say nope, and it'll shut it off. Now, I will warn those of you that think that modern propane tanks are built in with that protection. I'm going to refer you to my description, and I'll show you the safety video that I did last year that showed a test of that, where someone hooked up a a propane line to a tank with it on, and they cut through it and it just hissed out and the propane tank didn't stop it. Then they did it with one of these GasStop safety valves and they cut through it and it stopped it. So it doesn't come built in with that safety feature. So I have GasStops on all of my propane tanks. And speaking, and there's more to talk about with fire and gas safety, and that is having smoke, propane, and carbon monoxide alarms. Most RVs, and I think it's standard, they come with a propane alarm, and it's usually down near the floor, and they do have an expiration date on it. So make sure you know what that expiration date, put it in your calendar and replace it when it's expired. So that's a propane alarm. And also not usually built in is carbon monoxide alarm. I have two of them. One of them is like a standalone one that I bought on Amazon, and it's just stuck on the wall. And another one is I removed the smoke alarm, the very cheap smoke alarm that came with the rig. I removed that and replaced it with a much more expensive one that is a combination smoke alarm and carbon monoxide. All right, so it's both. And the smoke alarm is designed to tell the difference between normal smoke that might come out of you cooking on the stove and a real fire. Because the old cheap one used to go off every single time I'd cook. No matter how many fans I had on or windows open, it would go off. The new one doesn't go off like that. And they're rigorously tested. You pay a little bit more for them, and it'll also go off in the event of carbon monoxide. So those are the things that are really important for you to be aware of. So you can have fun. If you take care of all these things and you know all these things are taken care of, then you don't have worries. When you don't have worries, you're able to have fun. So that's why I take all these precautions. All these things are ready to go. I prepare for the worst, and I experience the best. And the best happens, and hardly anything really ever happens that I'm not prepared for. So I'm ready. So I'm relaxed. I'm not anxious. I don't panic when something happens. I know exactly what to do, where to go, and I have the tools and the information I need. And now you do too. So if you have any other suggestions, put them in the comments. And I'm sure everyone else, I'm sure there are lots of other answers to being safe and fun in desert camping. And a lot of you have information out there that I maybe didn't include. And certainly those things are welcome in the comments. Thank you very much. I appreciate it.